And now, Splunk's Cybersecurity 60-second charity challenge. Remember the rules. You've got to get through an entire subject in 60 seconds, or you donate to today's charity of choice. Good luck!
Okay.
It was good to hear his voice, wasn't it? Like, we just had gone an entire episode without hearing Kovar talk, and we got a little drop in there.
Yes. It wouldn't be complete without at least one Kovar reference. So, but our challenge today is inspired by a conversation on Slack with Drew that turned into kind of a hot take talk, which I always appreciate when people have opinions and we can go back and forth and maybe not make any progress, but we can go back and forth.
I love arguing. It's perfect to have opinions.
Exactly. And this all stemmed from an alert from Apple. They pushed out, I think, an emergency security update recently about a new zero-click exploit that was being used to deliver Pegasus spyware. So obviously concerning when you hear that's happening. And this was 2 new 0 days that are leveraged in this attack chain. And so that started a discussion about how important is it to always update your phone when you get a security update or a software update, which often includes security components. And, I think when we talk about the general public, that's not always the case with regular updates. And what's the likelihood of some sort of iOS vulnerability or mobile device vulnerability affecting the average person? And so that's kind of where we went with this. And I'm thinking, Drew, do you want to go first with your thoughts on updates?
Absolutely not. I want someone else to go first. But specifically, what charity are we going to be donating to whomever happens to win? Does the winner pay or does the loser pay? Or do we not have any losers?
That's actually a good question.
I think the loser always pays.
First of all, how many people do we have competing? Because I'm not even really clear on that with the number.
I'm competing for some reason.
Well, you have an opinion, so of course you are.
I feel like it's me.
Okay.
Is that right?
This, Katie.
Yeah.
Okay. You got this, Katie.
I'm ready.
Destroy
You're going down, Drew.
Yes.
I don't know what we're talking about.
You don't? Oh, well, that'll make this even more interesting. I guess the prompt is, what is your stance from the perspective of your average person who maybe doesn't work in cybersecurity or isn't thinking about cybersecurity on a regular basis? How concerned should they be about these, emergency security updates, and what is their threat model when it comes to this? How should they right away hit update? Are they okay skipping it? Because I know a lot of people do. They're worried about battery drain, things like that, maybe decreased performance. I'm just taking all of Drew's points, but concerns like that might prohibit someone from responding quickly, right? I don't know. What do we think about that?
I feel like I want Drew to go first, and then I'll come with the retort.
Okay, so I am going to do this the Kovar way, which is to say I have written nothing out and have planned nothing. So hopefully I will. Wait, he always loses, so.
Oh, and I wanted to say the charity. So this week our charity is the Morocco Earthquake Relief Fund, and this was from an earthquake earlier this month. And so this is the charity for today. And I'm sorry, Katie, are you going first, or are we doing?
I think I am.
You are? Okay, sorry to interrupt. So go ahead.
Oh, I have to this is awkward because I have to click the button for myself to start the timer. This is new. And then I'm just going to pay attention to this clock and completely screw this up. But enough vamping, and let's go. All right, so I think that the big picture that anyone needs to understand is that normal people that aren't us and aren't watching this broadcast fundamentally do not care about cybersecurity at all. It is something that is in kind of the background of them. As we were talking about the call today, we talked about cyber hygiene and the importance of doing things like updating our phones, updating our wearables, updating the firmware on our routers, and making sure our PCs reboot. But just like the ring in a bathtub, right? That indicates, hey, somebody should probably clean that. It's not an emergency. Yeah, maybe it's a little gross. Maybe it's not a great idea. But fundamentally, that. It doesn't matter to them, right? Their device is a means to an end, and the security of that device is relatively unimportant. I think Katie's going to make the pitch here that, hey, well, what if that vulnerability could be exploited by the neighbor to see everything of the phone, the contents of the phone, and fundamentally, the neighbor isn't that skilled, so they're not going to get access to the pictures. I think we failed completely at making this problem important to the general population of computer users, and I don't know how to solve that, so I'll just have opinions instead.
All right. So I definitely see your point of view, Drew, but let's go ahead and see what Katie has to say.
Ready, Katie?
I'm ready.
All right.
I didn't know it was Yeah, go for it. I didn't know there was a 60-second timer, so I'll go quick. I'm ready.
Surprise!
It's the 60
Probably told me
second
and I forgot.
charity challenge. Remember, 60-second charity challenge. It's in the name.
That's fair. Yep, that's
All
fair. I
right.
set myself up. Go for it.
And go.
So my argument is, although these individual instances of, I don't really care about this update, or this isn't a big deal, or if I skip it this time, that mentality and that sort of willful naivete can be extrapolated to all things security related. So it really is a matter of not advocating for willful naivete for security practices, right? It's just kind of enforcing bad security hygiene. And where that happens, like, locally on your phone at home, those are the same folks that are going into work and doing clicky clickies on emails when they're not supposed to because I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's not a really big, not that big of a deal. So there you go, less than 60 seconds.
Yep.
Oh,
There.
well done. Well done. So do I have like a retort? Is this like Robert's Rules of Debate or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, go for it. What's your response?
You're absolutely right, Katie. Right. I think the fundamental truth, and we're hoping, right, that people will vote and say who won, and it was objectively me. I think it's really important to understand, like, you're completely right. Right. Those things matter, and though I think not updating your phone, not making sure that your computer reboots and the patches apply, etc., are all systematic problems that cause an increased threat to the organization they work for. But fundamentally, and I think this kind of goes back to, and it's probably different in different geographies, but like, I think the opinion is, so what? That's not my problem. And I don't know how to solve that. And I really wish I did, because I think we could make the world a much more cyber safe place. We would not have adversaries that are able to use home routers as springboards to conduct nation state level attacks against nations that can't defend themselves, or against or ransomware operators pivoting from this computer that they're able to then go ransom a casino or whatever, right? I really wish we could solve that problem. I just don't know how to get the average person to care about this issue. I'm passionate about it, right? I'm a vulnerability guy. I want all the things patched constantly. Let's pretend that I didn't Nessa scan my house over the weekend, but like, I don't know how to get my kids and my wife to care about that.
That's fair. That's fair. There's
Yeah,
like a
that-
realist approach, but it's also like responsibility. We talked about that a little bit too. Like, where does the responsibility fall when it comes to breaches? If someone's social engineered, is it their fault or is it the organization's fault, right? Like, there's always this kind of debate about that. But what were you gonna say, Haley?
Oh, I was just thinking while Drew was talking about how, like, we talked about how Apple's switching to opt out for security updates, which I think is like one way of being like, okay, well, we'll like make them take their medicine type thing. But then I'm like, oh, but then to Katie's point, it's almost like a missed opportunity for like education, but like that's not how they're pushed right now. It's just like
That's
security
right.
update, or it's bug fix. Like nobody cares about that. But if there's ways to talk about things that get people interested in those things, that I think like presentation of an update is also something that could be considered, and you miss out on that education opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think with updates, the whole point is to make it an easier experience for the user. And it's not all security. There's like new features and just different, functional bugs that are fixed that aren't a security risk. But it's like if your weather app isn't working, which was one of the ones that was fixed in an update I did a little research about this. I was just trying to figure out like what is included in some of the recent updates. And, some of them it's Wi-Fi, searching for Wi-Fi on your device. You could have an update that fixes that, which to me is a much more significant issue than like potential battery drain for 48 hours while your phone adjusts to an update. Because typically the battery drain is short-lived, except for that one, issue about Apple inserting a tool into its update that actually caused phones to run at like 58% of the normal speed, which is probably lost some customer trust there. But
Yeah. Thank you for making my point for me, right? Like, I think the idea there is like there are so many reasons to not, that I think the inertia about not is probably outweighs it. And so I think to Haley's point about how can we use this as an opportunity to educate people as to why this matters. I'm sure that there's really smart people working on that. And if you are a person that is working on that, I would love to hear from you, because you're clearly smarter and better at this than I am. And I would love to get your message out for you, or help you get your message out, I should say.
the one other thing is I do wonder when we hear about, pretty advanced exploits, like a zero-click Pegasus spyware type exploit that makes national headlines. I mean, that's a big story because there's a human rights component, right? The people who are targeted, while they're not the majority, it's still a really worrisome thing if a dictatorship is able to get their hands on this and then use that for a population or a demographic or specific people that are against their administration or whatever. That could be a concern for everyone, right? Anyone in the world should be concerned about that. And the more we can talk about it, that could help promote security. Even if you know that, I'm probably not a target, I'm still going to update my phone because this bothers me that it exists. I don't know. That's kind of my view of it.
Which, by the way, like the convenience factor of it, you just click a button.
I know, it's so
That's
easy.
it. Just click the button.
My phone starts over. I had all those notifications saved, and it's going to turn off and back on. I'll lose them.
But it's when you're asleep,
what I love
right?
about this is what I love about cyber is you can take like such a seemingly like kind of trivial topic or something that doesn't seem like a huge deal and just extrapolate, and it's this, massively existential thing, like trying to
Right.
solve for world hunger.
Yeah, I mean, I think, right, going back to my practitioner life, I ran the patch management for, let's just say 15,000 endpoints at one point. And the number of people that got very upset that we forced a reboot on their computer was just astronomically high. And they're like, oh, you shouldn't have rebooted my computer. I'm like, well, we warned you 18 times, and this has been overdue for 45 days. You ignored the emails. You ignored the phone call. I came to your desk. You weren't there. I don't know what else I was supposed to do. Like, we had to reboot the computer, and like I had a very critical document open. It's a usability thing. I think it's a user experience thing. I don't know how to solve it. I think, right, the emergency updates from Apple, they're very quick right now, right? So it like installs very quickly, and then the phone's back up, and there's really not a lot going on. So I think the separation of like OS level updates from the security updates in those use cases helps mitigate some of the risks that you're all talking about. The convenience factor, right? It's just done, and they don't have to think about it. But some of like the longer updates can take 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. And if you live your life and do your business by your phone, that can be kind of a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if anyone watching has an opinion on who won, because I don't know if we can judge for ourselves since we all have our own
I can
opinions.
absolutely judge on who won.
Oh, yeah.
It was me.
Write in the chat, because I feel like we're not able to judge of ourselves.
Oh, can we see the chat live?
Yes,
So
it's on the right. You can
yeah.
click chat, and it
yeah,
should show.
no one has chimed in. Oh, actually, I just saw somebody write in. Drew was correct.
You're making that up. I don't
I
see
am,
that.
in fact, making that up. If I type it, does that become it Drew? Oh, I went over. I went over 20. I went over by.
I lost on a technicality, Drew.
All
Sorry,
right.
bud.
I will gladly donate to the earthquake relief affecting Morocco. Absolutely, that's an easy W. I'll gladly donate my $60 for the 60 seconds. By the way, it's 60 seconds. Yeah.
I think
Did I
I need to
say something
donate
different?
too because of your malfeasance, and I will
Indeed.
too.
Oh, well,
We're
thank you.
all winners.
Let the record show, by the way, that Katie Brown is now undefeated for the
Wow, that's
second thing.
well done, Katie.